Here we are, Joe and Jason. We are here on Adventures from the Stream. We're going to do a commentary video on a video that you may not have seen yet, and that's Jason doing an incredible job of making a map that we will eventually not use. Is that right, Jason?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And again, if you want to check it out, it's a little bit of a longer format, but we go into, the depth of my actual creation process. So it's good stuff. Definitely check it out here if you like what you see off this video.
Yeah, and it's a blast. Of course, we'll have a link for the other video once it's released. We'll add that video in here. We'll also put it in the description. Definitely come check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. In the meantime, we are going to do some commentary on bits of that video to give you an idea of things that we think are important bits of it and why they are to us. The first thing I want to mention is Jason, in finding the name of our world, had what I would consider to be some fun with the pronunciation. Let's check that out.
We were in the town of Breford, next to Lake Lunette. This world was in the land of Coradigis. Yeah, that is where it was called. Coragis. Coragis. Yeah. It was in this world here that I'm going to be showing you on the screen.
So and I just wanted to make a mention here because to me that's the funniest part of the video. There's so much more golden material in the map making video, as you will see. But I loved this one because when I was going through it, and Jason had his own post or his own text in there about how it was supposed to be pronounced that I had sent, and then I was like, that long pause you put in there, I said, yeah, I'm going to put a little thing in there, give up in 3, 2, 1. This is it, right? It's beautiful.
Yep. That was genuine me not being able to pronounce the actual thing. I had my notes up as far as what you wanted to, have the name of the world and things like that. And in my head, it sounded okay when I was saying it, but then when I speak it on the video, I just couldn't get the pronunciation right. And it was genuine struggle with it, and to the point where I was like, you know what, I'll just put the actual thing up there and it's actually on there, and I can in post, I'll put down how it's, because I know you sent me the pronunciation. I didn't have the pronunciation up on my screen though. Right. I just had the name of the thing, and I was just trying to go through and get it. And yeah, it was not my most shining moment
and the other part about it with the name, we talk about collaboration a lot, and that's something that'll come up in the map making video itself. You'll hear Jason throughout the video talking to himself, which in itself is also humorous, but he talks to you as if you're going to respond to him. But and we encourage you to Facebook, YouTube, wherever. But the name itself, the name of our world, Coragus, is actually a conglomeration of letters from our first names, the players and GM in the game. And that's one reason it came out the way it did, which on its face isn't as pronounceable as it should be. But that's where we got there. And the next spot here, we're going to go through a few different cuts while we're watching this, but a lot of it comes down to what we were looking for in the map. I had asked Jason, let's get all the climates in there. Let's make sure we've got, jungle, forest, ice, and mountains, and pretty much everything in there. And as we go through this part here, you'll see how Jason shows that, and then how he focuses in on the Breford map.
Kind of a basic blank template of different realms, different climates, and things like that here for our actual world map.
And then this is where Breford is here.
Breford is right here.
It was a really short spot, so I stretched out there so we could take a look. I decided to
collaborate with Joe and help him with the map making process. He sent over to me some ideas that he had for the actual city layout and how it was supposed to look.
My outstanding artwork.
So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to put down a nice green base, and we are going to use the edge shape, which will give it a little bit of texture around the edges, so it's not just this smooth thing. So we're going to go and make this
smiley
thing
face
look kind of like his initial design here. So let's just go ahead and do that. We're going to just make a nice little U shape. Let's take a look and see what we have for mountains. Now, in our session 0, we did not establish that this mountain range was frigid, so I'm assuming that this mountain range is going to be more foresty or just typical kind of mountainish. So we're going to stick with these ones here. Well, that might work. That might work here. So once we have the image down, we can actually stretch it out to fit our needs. And let's put some little baby mountains.
And I like when the cuts here, it just kind of fills in.
All right. Now, what I typically try to do is I try to fill in the map with as many assets as I can. Let's look at some hills here. We got some green hills. And let's try to, just pepper in a few little green hills in our mountains. Let's go ahead and use the deciduous trees here, and let's make sure the right size. Now, I want to always, again, consider the spacing that I have, and I'm going to add some pine into here as well to help the tree line out.
So that one, with all of those pieces, you can see where the map's starting to come together. And later, towards the end of the video, we'll show how it went kind of like from my drawings to here's what Jason first came up with, to where I said, well, let's try this, and then we tried something else, and then we were at what might be a final product. And Jason, you know as well as I do now that I cut that down a lot, but I just wanted to get you laying that base down. What is in Incarnate? What is challenging there? Anything really, or is that just straightforward?
Yeah, no. The program itself is incredibly user friendly, and it can put down about 90% of what you are imagining in your head into the actual software, into the world. The biggest challenge for it is, for me at least, is trying to make sure that everything blends together, because you're dealing with a lot of stamp assets. So they're just basic assets that you can just lay on there and then lay on other things and just pepper in this map area. It can be a struggle when you put down a stamp that doesn't make sense or doesn't work or doesn't lay properly on there, and then you have to kind of blend it together with different things. That always kind of takes the longest period of time. But when making, an overall map itself, I mean, this particular map took me about almost an hour. We cut it down a little bit inside below the videos to, because again, a lot of it was just me just putting things down, which isn't fun to watch. But it actually is. It's not a hard thing to do. They actually made the program to be very user friendly. It's as long as you have a good concept of what you want. And I had a brilliant concept with your fantastic drawing you put out there Beautiful. For me, which was great. And that allows us to create things here. So overall, it wasn't a hard thing. It definitely is a time dedication process when it comes to map making for your games. So always have some time dedicated when you start putting things down, but blending and getting the feel right and making it feel like it's an actual map is it takes some time. You have to do it a few times, but it's a pretty straightforward process.
Cool. Now in this next part, there's a piece where the description of Brieford and the drawing I first laid out showed farms up on the mountain, and in this part of the video, you'll notice that Jason kind of has a question about it, but then he says something that I think is key, and that's where we're going to pick up next.
On his map, he said there was Brieford here, and there were some farms. Now, it's kind of weird to have farms maybe on the side of a mountain, maybe?
I like when he goes up that octave.
Farms are just on side of mountains. It's fantasy. Who cares? We can make whatever we want.
Right. And that, I think, is worth noting. Exactly what Jason said. When you're creating this stuff, don't worry if this wouldn't normally happen. if let's say, if you're in a world where you can imagine yourself being an elf hiding in a nook in a cliff face to avoid a red dragon's fire breath, if you have a problem with a farm on a mountain, that's not your biggest problem here. There's something else you've got to grasp, because there is that layer of immersion. When do I stop believing in what's going on? And I just think when you said this, that captured my attention all at once. And I said, I've got to put that on the screen, and we have to make sure we mention it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we see that all the time. I know me and you are on different forums for dungeon masters and things like that. And sometimes, you have that like, oh, that doesn't make sense. That's not really, I mean, if it's having fun, if it doesn't break the immersion of the world and the game, which
Yeah.
typically, it doesn't, then why not have fun? Do it. This particular game of Dungeons and Dragons is meant to be a fantasy adventure. It's not like some other tabletop RPGs where it is very realistic and like, oh, physics matter and this matters here. Now, this right here, our game is fantasy. So, I mean, have fun
Yeah.
with it. This is our world, and if it's your world, why not do something like that and have fun with it?
Yeah. I'm going to put because I don't believe this farm is here, I'm going to put in my boots of jumping and just jump right over it up to the top of the mountain. That's what
Yep,
I'm going to do.
absolutely,
but,
absolutely, absolutely.
but
I say this isn't realistic as I'm a half man, half centaur walking away, stomping off furiously.
yeah, yeah. So I thought that was definitely worth calling out. So I made sure we did that. And here we'll take a look at a bit more of the finishing of the map, and then kind of the progress that we made as we went through here.
Because this is a kind of touristy town, and it was said to have had a kiosk and a gift shop and things like that here as we were going through our sessions here and making things. But let's go ahead and just give them a little bit of space. And the cool thing is with this, we can actually in game through Roll20 and through some of the other functions that we use, we can just simply zoom in on certain things that we want to see. And Incarnate actually has a really good resolution change. So once we get closer in, it actually doesn't look that bad when it actually is fully zoomed in. Okay, so I mean, this right here is a basic little town map. I'm going to go ahead and say call it here for today. I'm going to submit this over to Joe. We're going to see what he has to say about it, and then most likely trash it, come back and try again.
So that's where one of the things I wanted to point out there is because of the tools we use, kind of the way they come together. To your point, the graphics of Incarnate are blow upable. That's my technical term, I guess, for the day. And we've done that. So in our Roll20 sessions previously, we've had a map of a town, and I want to get down to like the street level. And I can blow up this map in Roll20 to be 150 grid wide, which is huge, and make it so that it almost fits a 5-foot square in the map without it really being blurry or pixelated. And that's really nice. One of the things I like.
Yeah, no, Incarnate, they did a really good. They did a really good job of the export process for their maps. The assets themselves, when you blow them up here, they tend not to get pixelated or distorted. So it's incredibly user friendly. I use Incarnate. I don't use Roll20 for some of the games that I DM. I simply just use Incarnate, and I can zoom in and out on those things on there. And I typically don't have any issues ever with distortion or a house that's right there. The players want to zoom in. What's that house there? You can zoom almost up to the size of the house itself, and you can be fine. You can actually even take out certain parts of the map and then just resize those and make a brand new map off of those. So they did a really, really good job when it comes down to scaling their assets so that you can use them however you need in your virtual tabletop.
Very cool. So now here, we're just going to take a short look at some of the pieces that brought it together. So we have, to start, was my first 2 drawings, and these were, this is in Windows Paint with my graphic tablet, and each one was about a minute. And I was trying to convey something that I now know didn't convey as well as I wanted it to. But that's cool because we still move forward. So the first, the end of that video where Jason's saying, we're going to call it the map. That's what we ended up with here. From that point, I said, well, let me grab my GIMP and the graphics tablet, and I'm going to try and take pieces of this asset out of Incarnate and make something. So I kind of made this mountain with a plateau on top. However, that didn't fit very well going back into it. And then I said, all right, I'm just going to open up Incarnate and say, hey, how about this? and and that's kind of where we ended up. We agreed on the asset itself, and then Jason turned it into a nice map. So that is pretty much where we are. There, I think there's a couple more things that are happening. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. There, we've added some more things in there, some finer details onto it. This was just kind of a rough concept. That way, I knew that I was on the right path because with any collaboration, you're going to have somebody who has the concept and someone who's trying to make something, and you're trying to go back and forth. When I initially looked at the photo of it and from our session zero notes, I thought it was a mountain, the leader Anon's her house at the very top, and then the rest of them kind of were peppered around the mountain itself, going down to the base. Not necessarily that they were all on the base, but they were halfway up, things like that here. And she lived at the very top, and so that's what was my concept for the first map. And I found that mountain where I was like, okay, there's a big center area here in the middle of the mountain. I can place things there, and then I can place your house on top overlooking things. And I think that might be what we're looking for. And then looking back at it, we were able to see that, oh no, there's just a flat plateau and things like that. So, it's a collaborative process. That's part of the fun of it too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll always have fun with it, and have that communication. Whenever I finish a map, I'll send it over to Joe, and he'll let me know what this is, and vice versa. And we come to conclusions because sometimes we even determine this. What Joe had in his mind, Incarnate couldn't do 100%. It just couldn't, at least the assets that we have. And again, I know there are people out there who are much more talented than me at map making, who could probably edit and mold assets to make something like that. I just typically am not that good at it. But we were able to come to a happy medium where the map works. It fits for us here. Again, the one you're seeing right here is about 70% complete. I had another one done, and we'll post those on our social medias and things like that, so you can see the before, the after, the whole process and everything else. But it's part of the process. It's part of the fun.
Yeah, it's great. And in doing this, we've had a lot of chance to work together, which helps us see what our tools are and how we might approach things in the future. For example, one of the things for me now is I'm going to more than not have generic maps ready. Jason's going to put generic maps together, and that way when I decide to start describing a new area, I can grab one of those generic maps and describe what's on the map, rather than worrying about if my description can be made into a map later. Now, we'll still do that. There will still be plenty of places that come up on the fly, but it will help us as a visual medium to be able to put out a map that more closely resembles what we're trying to convey. And I think that's going to be a big plus for us. So that's a very good thing.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to throw in there, Jason?
No, I mean, if you like what you see, definitely, give us a shout out. If you want to see more of the actual longer format of map making, just, again, let us know. We're trying to make as much content and as much fun content for you guys as possible. So let us know your thoughts, and we appreciate it. But have fun making some maps. I mean, it really is cool. And for somebody like myself who never was able to make real good artistic drawings of maps before, this here for me makes me feel like, super cool when I can put this out for my players and they can go, oh, that's really cool. They can kind of see things. And, one thing that it sparks is the imagination and creativity. The players will see something and be like, what's that over there?
Exactly.
Can I check that out? And then, it allows us as DMs to have more to work with in this world. So I highly encourage it, highly recommend it, and, have some fun. That's the big thing.
Sounds great. And on that note, we'll wrap this one up, and we will catch you online, Adventures from the Stream, on YouTube, Facebook, and elsewhere. Bye.